during October of 91, when we were highly involved in the winterized shelter program, and more than 20,000 families were being evicted from Kirkuk, the Iraqi government did an amazing thing. They withdrew their administration from northern Iraq, from a section of northern Iraq, from a part of northern Iraq. They drew a militarized demarcation line, their choice, they just drew it. I'll tell you a short story in a second. They drew this line and told all their civil servants, they withdrew all their civil servants, emptied the banks, took down their flag, removed all their military people. There were still some military people around in Erbil. There was a military base. There were military people near the Dokkan Dam and a few other places, and withdrew them south of that militarized, east-west militarized demarcation line, and essentially abandoned an estimated more than 3 million people and cut them off from the rest of the country. We didn't know what to do. Because we were working in cooperation, supposedly, with the Iraqi government. But that is what they chose to do. It became very difficult for Iraqis to cross that line. They could, but those who were crossing into the northern part, into the part that from which they withdrew, at checkpoints, they would make them empty their fuel tanks to only a few liters. They would search the cars and take any food and throw it on the roadside. I saw this many times because we could not travel as UN in Iraq without travel permits, and they were issued on a monthly basis. So at each checkpoint, we had to get our travel permits stamped. So we would wait at the checkpoint while this was being done. And of course, we could see all this that was happening. They're just flinging food, and people were forced to empty their tanks, leaving just enough to go ahead. And it was just poured on the roadside. And then they would burn it. And this went on for quite some time. Now, this militarized demarcation line, I was one night driving. Iraq was quite safe. I was driving from Duhok to Erbil via Mosul. That's the main road. It normally takes an hour and a half. But I was stopped because they were putting up these barriers, like chicanes, setting up the checkpoints. And Erbil was just ahead. I could see it. And my driver was actually an Iraqi. It was quite forceful, but we could not get them to let us go. So I had to go back and spend the night in Mosul. And then the next morning, I found my way, into the northern region. I could pass through the checkpoints that were established the night before. And then we faced another whole set of difficulties because our materials, we used to send trucks in, like to Erbil and Sulaymaniyah, just taking Iraqi roads. But now we could not. All the trucks had to have permits, and they had to be inspected and all that sort of stuff. And we even escorted them. And anyway, life was difficult, and that's the way it was. So